What's up, guys? Redbird here. Real quick disclaimer before the episode starts. BDLG did have some latency issues during episode 95, but we did have a guest on StreamerHouse, LLnK specifically from StreamerHouse. So it's a great episode. We just editing him out didn't make a lot of sense because he did add quite a bit to the conversation. So we did keep it in. Hope you guys can tolerate it. We appreciate your patience with these technical issues. But again, a great episode. Special thanks to LLnK from StreamerHouse for joining us on this one. You guys should enjoy. So without further ado, here is episode 95 of New World to Go.
You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. And,
yo, what's up?
And we have a special guest with us today, and that is StreamerHouse.
How's it going?
Good, man. Good to have you with us. Before we get in here, dude, we want to thank everybody for the 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and all the podcasting platforms. It means a lot. It helps us get found in these directories, so we thank you for that. And then, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscription button, the notification bell, for more New World content like this. Today, again, we have StreamerHouse. They've been streaming. They've been live for how many years, dude?
Since 2013, pretty much live that entire time. Obviously, technical difficulties happen, but for the most part, 99.9% we've been up.
Yeah, dude, I can barely stay live for 4 hours. And you guys, every time I check any Twitch analytics, it's always like hours streamed, and then StreamerHouse is just at the top all the time.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible for anybody to catch up.
No, not now, for sure. But, well, it's good to have you with us. Dude, whatever you want to plug, whatever you want to say, or, introduce to the listeners, now's the time, my friend.
Well, just appreciate you having me on the show. We're excited to be here. It's been a long run for New World. The house has been planning it since the start. I don't even know what hour we're up to. It's just been nonstop since the start of New World, and we've been just continuously grinding the game, and I'm still having tons of fun with it. And StreamerHouse wouldn't mind you stopping by and saying hi if you're in the neighborhood.
Florida, I have some family down there, man. It might happen at some point, Yeah. Dude, you were telling us before the podcast about your hiking. Dude, I was thoroughly impressed. You're like you're basically a real life, survivor of Eternum.
I definitely do a lot of walking. Yes, in game and in real life. I'm a Triple Crown through hiker. If you don't know what that is, I'm sure you could Google it. Basically, just means I've done all of the ultra long distance trails in the U.S. and I've done the equivalent of going up and down Mount Everest about 82 times in the last 6 years alone. And it's just a long journey, but I really enjoy nature. So I've kind of made that my anti-drug, my antidepressant, that's how I get high, essentially. I go up and climb big mountains and enjoy beautiful views.
Yeah, so. Dude. Well, do you get a 10% buff of movement speed IRL?
Only on the roads. It's called vehicles, yeah. Or a bicycle if you can find one. Only on the roads as well, yeah.
All right, good to know. For all of you who haven't got off your computer since New World, there are real life movement buffs. They're called cars.
Yeah. The plane is the best, though, let me tell you.
Yeah, true. All right, guys. Well, let's hop right in here with the news. All right. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. There we go. I don't have that one set up, apparently. All right, guys. Well, so the trading post went down in EU this week. A big deal over there in the European region. It started with them trying to reimburse people for housing. The housing deficit of rent and not having trophies available or to be traded or exchange of housing items. And they tried to reimburse the EU region first. I think they were going to do the NA next. And they gave back, I think, 100 times more than they initially planned on accident. This can't be true. But people have been saying like they misplaced the comma, which is like, I can't imagine that mistake actually being made So I'm not sure what exactly happened, but that completely collapsed the economy. Of course, when people woke up, it was like Christmas morning. They went to the auction house and bought everything they could with their hundreds of thousands of gold.
They bought houses as well.
Yeah, and they bought houses as well. So a big rollback happened, and now the trading posts still haven't recovered. I'll refer to as StreamerHouse, I guess. What do you think of this little fiasco? And to my understanding, there's been no communication. The trading posts are still down in the EU.
No. Yeah, it's well, I'm not sure. I think the trading posts are finally back up.
They are.
I believe they are. I mean, the last I heard, I think they brought them back up. I'm not sure 100%. But it started off with the great idea of refunding everybody what they're due, but it turned it into a snowball of whoops. We appreciate your patience. Another one of those dev posts, and they really haven't talked about it at all. But I have a feeling, I don't know how proficient everybody is reading all the different forum posts and stuff like that. But on the official forums, somebody was like, "Hey, I just got 300,000 gold," and one of the developers or somebody with with an orange name basically said congratulations, and everybody was like, "Wait, what?" like maybe you shouldn't be congratulating people. To me, I just kind of see that as like maybe that dev or whoever it was like, well, grats, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they thought it was one person.
Another day of dealing with this stuff. Congratulations. Like, it's just one of those rough things. Like they just seem to have whenever that comes to patching, even with the PTR, they always have something that goes wrong with it. And it's really detrimental to the economy for EU. Like one of the things people may not think about is that on the auction house, they've also made a change that if your storage is full, you cannot sell things from your storage to the auction house until you pull things off the auction house. So all those people who had a ton of stuff that was up for sale and went to their stash, and now they're stuck with all this stuff that they can't pull off. And if they do, they have to do it in like small increments and run it to a whole nother storage town, drop that off, just so they can start not having a full stash in there, even while they can't use the auction house. And that even affects us now. Like a lot of people are using the auction house as essentially another storage system. So you would put up 10,000 of something for X amount of gold, and it would just hold on to it for 3 days or whatever you put it up till until you wanted to use it. You weren't actually intending to sell it. And so anybody who was doing that on Europe got really, really hosed when that happened.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is like, I guess, underestimated is the auction or the trading post is such a massive part of the game that when it's not up, people don't even want to play, or a lot of people don't want to play because of that issue, because you don't have any way to off-put. Like if you're a farmer or a gatherer and you go gather a full piece of inventory, most of those people have full storages across the board, across the entire map. So when they go out and gather, that's kind of it. Like they can't do anything with it.
Yeah. So when the auction house goes down, they did it this time where they decreased the amount of taxes people have to pay for their houses. But the auction house goes down, you're in a spot where you don't have a lot of gold and you can't pay for your rent on your houses or anything like that. They don't freeze the cost of the towns, the taxes, everything like that. It just eventually snowballs into the point where you don't have enough gold to cover everything you need to cover it, because you can't sell anything on the auction house. So you're left with doing like side missions and quests to get like 150 gold a quest or whatever to try and cover those bases, which is rough.
It for sure is. Bordy, what's your take on the continuation of these TPs being down and I guess the latest issue with and now it's like a rich bug, I guess. I don't know what to call this bug that people got rich from, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the frustration is coming in because it's just an ongoing issue, man. The trading post thing has been gone. It's gone down several times since the game has released, and so that's just being this. It's kind of just this bubbling up like frustration from the players that it just continues to happen. And so I don't know what they have to do fix these problems or to get them under control, but I hope they do it quickly, because it is a kind of an ongoing bubbling up issue. And whenever the trading post goes down, it's a huge deal, man. You see the dip in players. You see a lot of people getting just more and more frustrated every single time. So I don't know, man. It sucks. It sucks for us players, but again, it's growing pains of the game. And I think we just got to stick it out. We stick it out, and hopefully they get this stuff sorted out, and we'll be okay moving forward. But I hope they get it sorted soon.
It's interesting because, a lot of the times, or I remember, especially when like new patches are introduced or a new expansion comes out, and you're playing like World of Warcraft or something along that lines. Most of the time, their solution is just bring down the server, right? They just bring down the entire game. No one can play the game, and it's basically kind of
with
in limbo.
a quickness too.
Yeah, with very rapid. And so New World's approach has been just turn off the thing that's kind of broken.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. What do you think about that solution? Because it does allow some people to play the game, but it does also, I think, kind of create this rumbling of the player base. That's kind of like they are playing the game, but they're spiteful about it. It's like almost better if no one was available to play the game at some point.
Yeah. I would basically agree with that. Like a shorter downtime that encompasses it. Because the other thing is people will take advantage of these situations because while they may have turned the auction house off, people will figure out ways to still finesse that error or that problem in a way that can capitalize on it, like the trophy system being down. And then new things come up, like when they stopped that original gold dupe, for instance, and they brought the auction houses offline or whatever it was, people figured out a whole nother way to use a gold dupe, like on top of them bringing the thing, because they brought the thing down, they could do another gold dupe. So it just kind of adds more problems on top of it. And people want to be able to play, and that's understandable. But when it's something to do with the economy of like all the gold, millions of gold, it's just something they need to bring the servers down, resolve, and then bring them back up, because it's just, like we were just talking about the gold dupe where people got 300, 400,000 gold. They gave 100 times what they're supposed to get. People still have the ill-gotten gains, quote unquote, ill-gotten gains from that. They bought houses, and they still have those houses, even though the servers come back up and all that gold's been taken away from them. They still get to keep the houses and things like that. So they bought a bunch of tier 4 houses, 20,000 gold apiece, and they still own them even after the gold's been rolled back, essentially. So it's a big problem. It's just a big problem that they just keep seeming to have. I don't necessarily blame them too much. I mean, obviously they have something to do with like not testing these things out before they bring them out thoroughly enough, with the PTR involved and everything. There's a huge community of people out there that their entire goal is to find these things and use them to their advantage. And there's way more people trying to find the exploits than there are trying to find them and fix them. So it's one of those cat and mouse games where the mice are very plentiful and the cat's only so big.
It's always impressive to me how quick they find these bugs. I mean, like literally, they must be waiting for a patch to come up, especially now since there's a history of there being some issues every time they patch the game. It's like these people are. It's another holiday for them that now a new patch is up. We get to find more ways to exploit and duplicate things in the game.
Some people, that's the fun part of the game. I think they find things to cheese, and for some people, it's all about the money. There's these forums out there that you can pay to be a member of, which will teach you all these ill-gotten things that you can do, be them bots or cheats or great farming spots or whatever. And so there's a monetary incentive for these people that find all these things, as well as just a being, more powerful than everybody else because you have more money and whatnot.
Yeah, I hope. I really hope in the next couple of weeks or sooner, we're talking about positive things in the podcast for sure. The past couple of episodes have been kind of rough because it's just been issue after issue after issue, and this is no exception, man. I mean, the trading post thing is a pretty big deal to the game, and so I hope that they get these things fixed, and I hope a week from now, 2 weeks from now, we're talking about positive changes to the game instead of continuing to go over this stuff, because it's like beating a dead horse, man. This just continues to be an issue over and over and over and over and over, and it's like I don't know what they need to do to get it fixed, but my goodness, I hope they get it fixed. The trading post thing sucks, and the bad part about the trading post thing is it's not even an in-game issue. Like whenever the resilient perk was in the game, or it was bugged, that's more of like a level 60 thing. You really didn't really notice it a whole lot until you hit level 60, and there's other in-game things that were a problem. The trading post thing affects players of all levels, from new players to old players. And I've seen people getting on the forums like, why can't I move my furnishing stuff out of my inventory? Like, what is this furnishing item? It's a brand new player getting into the game, they find a furnishing item, and then they can't move it out of the inventory, and then they're confused. Like, what is this? Why is this stuck in my inventory, man? And so it's like these things just keep coming up. that man, I hope, sincerely hope they can get this stuff fixed soon, because the game is so good. It's so good, but then there's these problems that just keep cropping up week after week. That man, and I'm sure I'm sitting here preaching to the choir, because dude, I can only imagine how stressed out and like on edge they're off is right now trying to get this stuff sorted. But I still believe, man, once they get this stuff fixed, I still believe New World's going to be incredible. I'm still having a lot of fun. I don't know about you guys. I'm still having a lot of fun in the game still too. And obviously the trading post didn't affect us over here in the NA, but even with the issues, I still have fun in the game.
I've been having, I mean, that is the only issue for me, is the patches coming out having issues. The majority of the rest of the game I'm having tons of fun with. It's just, that's the one big nail that they keep hitting. It's like, stop hitting that nail.
Never patch the game again. Yeah.
I don't know. That seems to be the only kryptonite for the game for me. If they could just bring out patches that worked and didn't have some critical failure, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I really do think, and I think I said this on last episode, but utilizing the PTR is a very important thing. Like, just let us test the patch before you bring it to live. Like, you know, a lot of the times, games will put their next patch, no matter spoilers or not, on the PTR. Let the community test it. That's kind of when the hype starts to build. You get to experience the new stuff on the PTR and help test bugs, make sure there's no fatal errors, which seem to be what's happening in the live client right now. And then kind of, build up the hype. And then when it comes to live, then the majority of the player base gets to experience it. And then you bring out the new thing on the PTR. They've got to start utilizing. They just introduced the PTR, but now that they have it, they definitely need to start utilizing it more, because, I think that it's a good way to avoid a lot of these big issues that are happening.
Mm-hmm. But that's the whole point of the PTR, right? But they still slid in things that weren't part of the PTR. That's like, we didn't get to test those. No wonder they're broken.
Yeah. Everything works except for this feature we were hiding from you. That scales up all the mobs by 300% if you tag it. It's I don't know. It's interesting. But I guess we're going to talk a little bit more about this in our main topic. So let's hop right over there to the topic of the week, which is basically the state of New World.
For me, the state of New World is really kind of like, I'm always preaching this to everybody. People ask me, is the game worth buying? That ties into the state of New World. In my opinion, you're definitely going to get your money's worth, especially since the game is was on sale for $28, I think, on Steam. But I've already gotten a lot of hours of this game. I'm a streamer, of course, so my hours are always going to be pretty high. But my typical amount of time that I'm having playing the game, I'm having fun. Even when I'm just talking about the game and the servers aren't even live during patches, it's nice to have the big community. It's nice. It's really just I think it's kind of like, even if you own the game and you're not playing it right now, you put it down. The nice thing is there's no monthly fee. So you can just come back whenever they finally maybe get some of these patches in there that you've been looking for as an individual player, that kind of address the issues that you've been having that made you want to leave. Or if you're staying and you're thinking about leaving, or whatever your complaint is, hope that they keep addressing those issues. And like we were talking about before, it just kind of comes up to the point where they patch, but they mess up. And that really upsets a few people, especially people on like NA or on Europe, who already were having to deal with the issues, and now on top of that, the auction house issue. The game itself, though, I think I talk about this a lot. It's 90% of it works just fine. That's that percentage that has the issues that really offsets people. I can run around all day long. I don't really have any issues. Audio is great. The audio people that made this game, like, kudos to you. Very well done. The graphics are amazing. It's just something that really, I think, the only downside, I think, is just the patches, and that's really kind of hindering people's enjoyment of the game, because every time they come out with something that's supposed to be a fix, it's not a fix. And
so I did confirm with Taken, our buddy, the EU's TP is back up. So you're 100% correct on that, and that does obviously make a big difference. with the state of the game. But I couldn't agree more. It's hard to gauge. People come into stream and ask the same question, and I always kind of gauge entertainment on the same scale, which is like, how much am I paying for how many hours of pure enjoyment or entertainment? And I'm sure you've got way more than I do, but I've already gotten like 400 hours out of the game.
For sure.
So you're looking at, 10 cents. My math, probably not the best right now.
Don't do math.
Yeah. I was told there was no math. Yeah, but basically, I mean, you're talking about pennies on the dollar for hours of entertainment. I always look at like, what do we have? Even in your your Netflix subscription. I think you're borderlining on an investment at this point. If you've gotten 100+ hours out of a video game, I think. Yeah. And like you said, I think it's big that New World doesn't have a sub. It doesn't have anything. Whereas like these people, there's millions of people that bought the game at launch they already own the game. So if there is a big patch and a big update that introduces a lot of cool stuff to the game, they can always come back and try it for free. Which I think is a big barrier for most people. I know it is for me. If I'm looking to get back into like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, I always think about like, well, how bad do I want to play? Because then I have to go sub and buy the new expansion. So I'm going to drop about, $60, $70 just to play the game again. So Bordy, what are your thoughts on the current state of the game? We'll just start generally, and then we'll kind of get into some details here.
So I mean, generally, like the current state of the game, generally, I think there are some aspects of the game that are an absolute mess. We all know that, right? But I agree with Link for sure. I get asked the same question a lot too. Is the game worth buying? Is the game worth getting into right now with all of the issues going on? And I always say the same thing to everyone. It's like, yes, the game is totally worth buying. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of other people's opinion differs from mine. I'm sure if you ask somebody else, they'd probably say, heck no, the game's awful. But I don't think the game's awful. I think it's a really fun game still. I think if you buy the game and you're level 1 and you're fresh coming onto the beach of Eternum, you're not going to notice any of the issues going on at all, unless it's the trading post issue, and then that's another story. But all of the other issues, all the other small things, I think you're going to buy far and away, get your $40 out of the game, and especially if it's on sale for $30, you're going to get your money out of the game. So I think overall the state of the game is still okay. There's obviously going to be balancing issues with the weapons, et cetera, et cetera. We won't get into the nitty gritty of all of that, but with the meta and whatever, that's going to be an ever-changing, ever-evolving thing. It's the same way over any MMO that you play ever. It's always going to change. The meta is always going to change. Something's going to get nerfed. Something's going to get buffed, whatever. So in that regard, I think it's fine right now too. I think overall, I think the game is okay, with the exception of servers. They have to merge servers, man. That would be the thing that I would tell people. Maybe if you're wanting to buy the game, maybe wait until they merge servers and then buy the game, or buy it now, get a feel for it, and then whenever they merge servers, you'll be good. Because without mergers, man, Red, you and I play on kind of a server that's not doing so good right now. And I know a lot of other people are in the same exact situation we're in. And that is probably, in my mind, one of the biggest issues with the game right now is just the lack of people on some of these servers, man. It really sucks. You can't experience the game how it's intended to be experienced because there's only 200 people on during peak hours, and it makes it really, really tough. But other than that, once they merge servers, I still think the game is good. I still would recommend it, and I think the state of the game is okay right now. It could be way, way better, and I think it will be. But I think it's overall, I think it's all right.
Yeah. Those smaller servers also are almost like they have their auction houses turned off because there's not enough people on there putting anything up.
Yeah, ours is tough, man. Ours is tough. The economy on our server is not very good. Getting into Outpost Rush is like pulling teeth. You can only get an Outpost Rush at certain times of the day. It's like during peak hours, and then once those peak hours are over, you're not going to get into another. So if you don't hit the peak hours from like 7 p.m. until like 10 p.m., after that, you're not going to get into another Outpost Rush. So those types of things are very frustrating. But again, Outpost Rush is only level 60 and up. A level 60 and up thing. So unless you're level 60, you're not going to notice that anyway.
Yeah.
Which I think creates more issues with Outpost Rush. It's like, not all the player base is level 60. So when you talk about a low player base on your server, if only, you know, a percentage of your player base are actually max level to experience Outpost Rush, and even smaller percentage of people on the server want to PvP at all, well, then you're looking at a very small pool on a lot of these servers to experience what I would consider one of the highlights of the end game, which is basically being able to queue up, go into some PvP, get some watermark affecting, you know, you may not always get a watermark increase, but you sometimes you have a chance to. Having that and then making some gold and Azoth on the side to kind of pump back into the economy, that's a very important part of the game, especially if you enjoy PvP. So yeah, I find it interesting that they continue to and they may have solutions to this already in the works, but I find it interesting that the Outpost Rush queue is only your specific server. I would think at least it would be in the branch, right? Like you would have out of the 6 or 7 or 8 servers that are in your little shard, I would think that hopefully they would eventually open it up to that at the very least. But I do think mergers are something that need to come quickly, because a lot of people are getting discouraged, and there was only one. Sorry, Link.
Yeah, well, I was just say you'd think they'd be coming soon, but it's just that's what people keep saying. You know, that's one of the top things in my chat is my server just doesn't have anybody on it. Like I can't get Outpost Rush. Like the wars, like the entire map's dominated by one team because they're the only team that has people playing right now, and that's just so detrimental to the servers that I can only imagine. Because I got stuck on my original server. We used to play on Tritonus, and we moved into our new server. But I got stuck for like a week, and everybody left, and it was just me. And like I feel like and that's a terrible feeling. Like there's nothing trading, there's nobody doing anything, and you can't even get groups to do Armine or something like that. You know, it's rough. It's so rough.
Yeah.
Fearful.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks real bad for a new player whenever you're stuck in a situation where you're trying to level and then you hit a wall with the main story because you can't get a group together to go do like Amrine or any of the expeditions for that matter. It really sucks because the population's so low, and then some of the people that stuck it out on that server are already 60 or higher, have already exceeded the Amrine It's like, oh man, that's got to be a feels bad for new players too, and it would probably be a pretty big deterrent, I would imagine. So yeah, in my mind, I think server mergers have to happen soon, right? They have to.
You think so? I heard that they merged some in like AP and maybe West Coast, but I don't even know that they even talked about doing that. This is just stuff I've heard from other people. I don't know if it's actually even a thing. And like, if they have the ability to do it, you think they do it, because I can only imagine they're losing people even quicker on servers that are quiet. Our server's busy, you know, like we've got a high population server, and that server is just like constantly. You can get Outpost Rush any time of day, pretty much. You can, you know, get groups to do things any time of day. And I doubt there's a lot of people leaving our server because it's populated and busy, even with the issues that are going on. But if you're on a server where you can't do any of that stuff, like, yeah, you're probably going to put the game down until they do the merges. So.
Yeah, well, and one of the other things I think is unique, because, you know, we have a company that we run, and some of the people, because of the launch conditions of the server and the high population, all the long queues, they created characters on other servers. And so when they got their transfer token, they used it to come and join our company, the one that they wanted to join, of course.
Right.
And then now, if because the servers are kind of like dying and you know, going low in population, our entire community, or a lot of our company, want to transfer to a higher server so they can experience you know, that you know, more fruitful economy and Outpost Rush and stuff. But those people that transferred over are stuck on this dead server until they merge. So it's kind of it's a very interesting thing. It's like, we, you know, the problem with the population, which was a great problem to have. I mean, they had millions of people playing the game at launch, and they had to open more servers. But now opening those servers and using the transfer system to kind of fix the issues with the queues at launch, now is kind of doubling back to kind of haunt them in a way, because now a lot of people are stranded on dead servers.
Yep, with no transfer token in sight,
right,
or even the ability to buy one.
Right,
just surprising to me.
That is very surprising.
Yeah, like we can make money off of people wanting to move. Probably put that up there, $10 a transfer.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure if I was stuck on one of those poopy servers and I got, you know, the option to pay $10 a swap, I'd probably do it.
Absolutely. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, because it's good to have you on the podcast, a new perspective, is the end game. Now, right now, the end game consists of chest farming, your expedition, crafting tuning orbs, which is a mixed bag. Running expeditions, obviously your open world PvP, outpost rush, sieges, and invasions. Now I know you have a long history in MMOs like us. So what is your experience on the the vanilla version of New World's endgame?
Well, I think it's one of those things. Like a lot of the day you spend, because it's the most time for it's the most value for your time spent is running around ninjing elite chests or ninjing chests in general. That seems to be like one of the biggest in-game things everybody does. You don't have to do that. You can do the expeditions. You can do whatever you want to get it. But if you want that watermark increase, which affects your ability to sell things higher, you got to be doing that constantly. Expeditions are a great way to get watermark increases, and I think they're trying to push for that more. But the real problem is that a lot of people can't even afford to do these missions, because once they've used their 2 keys, essentially now you're seeing in a lot of global chat where people are selling positions in the group to go do Lazarus or Genesis or whatever. So I feel like the end game is good. It's just it has all these like drawbacks. Like it's just so much better to go do the elite chest farming in all the different high tier zones than it is to go do outpost rush or go to be involved in wars or be involved in all these other things, which I think they intend that they want people to actually be doing more often. Like I would love to do more dungeons. The problem is do we have enough keys to go do those dungeons multiple times to actually accrue the number of upgrades that we want to get our watermark up there? That whole grind is a bit difficult in some ways, but I don't mind the grind. I think the grind is important. That gives you something to come back and shoot and strive for. If you don't want to PvP all day every day, you want to go out there and do some chests. I personally try and mix it up. I'll do a little of this, a little of that, just whatever. I don't typically do the same thing through the entire day that I stream the game, unless I'm really zeroed in on something. I want to get my furniture up to 200 or whatever. Then I'll go out there in that field and pick all that silk thread and fiber and all that good stuff. But it's good. It could use more. I'd like to see things happen possibly in the open world. It's kind of difficult to suggest things for the open world because we already have issues with a bit of latency, although they've been doing a much better job with the latency in wars and outpost rushes and things like that, fixing the void gauntlet and stuff like that. An open world fight, whenever you see these big armies fighting each other in open world, there's a bit of lag there because there's hundreds and hundreds of people in these fights. But I'd like to see them do something more along with the forts, maybe add some towers that help you, get those forts a bit weakened so that you can invade them. It's these PvP quests that they've given us, you walk in, and this is like also in game because you get faction points and everything. When you walk into a fort and you just click on the door and you teleport in, and it's like, this is the enemy fort, but I'm inside it real quick and I just stand on this flag and I take it. It'd be cool if they made it so, added another step of in game, the open field, where the door was destroyable, then you go in and take it. That would have some skirmishes and whatnot, give people time to respond to the flag being taken, etc. I'd like to see more additional in-game things. For the most part, I think, though, you've got pretty much everything you need to keep the in-game going right now, but I'd just love to see more and more. But I don't know that they have the time to add more because they're too busy fixing the patches and stuff that they've messed up.
Very, very true. I do think that as far as in-game goes, at launch, I don't like most MMOs have a non-existent in-game from my experience. They definitely don't have the raids in. They have some struggles with keeping systems in place and all that. So I do give kudos for New World to creating some sort of grinding loop. I think one of the, and I think you touched on this. One of the problems with the loop right now is, it is on the border of being a little bit too hardcore for your general player base, which is like 90% of the people, unfortunately. Because grinding out tuning orbs to experience an expedition past your first 2 free ones is quite painful and expensive if you want to pay for that.
they don't have the money for that. They might not even have the experience doing it. They get their 2 free ones, and that's the gist of what they know about those tuning orbs. They don't know that they have to get their refining to a certain level in order to do these things that take, you can only do once per day, and you only get 10 of them or whatever. And then you got to buy
200.
Yeah.
Which is stone cutting is not an easy refining thing to level.
Especially
either.
With the crafting changes,
Yeah. So, Bordy, what's your take on the current state of Endgame?
I mean, I think our listeners know exactly where I stand on the current state of Endgame, man. There's a lot of things that they're doing that's heading in the right direction, I think. The Watermark grind, I'm not opposed to. I think the Watermark grind is fine. The problem with the Watermark grind is the lack of variability and variety you have to do the Watermark grind, right? So if you want to just PvP all day, you go do the 50 outpost rushes, your chance of getting a watermark increase are slim to none. So you go do the same thing with wars, invasions, all of the other in-game content that you do. Your watermark increase is so minuscule that it sucks. So I've talked about that ad nauseum on the podcast, man, about how they just need to add more variety to the watermark farm. Because if I don't want to go run elite chests and I don't care about getting all the mats from the elite chest, if all I want to do is get money, Azoth, and increase my watermark, then I ought to be able to go run outpost rush all day, every day, and eventually get my watermark up. Not saying watermark should be fast or you should just be able to skyrocket your watermark quickly. But whenever you think about it, man, you get 3 pieces of armor out of an outpost rush chest. If one of those gave you 1 watermark increase every time, how long would it take you? It would take you freaking forever still, because there's so many pieces of armor and weapons that you have to grind your watermark up to. Like, just give me, and it doesn't have to be guaranteed, but just give me like some other ways to increase watermark. And I think that system in and of itself would be okay. The tuning orbs, I mean, everybody knows where I stand on the tuning orbs, bro. I think they're awful. I wish tuning orbs were just removed from the game. But they're here. It is what it is. We've talked about it before. For dungeon mutation, introduce that maybe okay. But you guys are absolutely right that the more casual player is going to have a very hard time getting into these dungeons because it's gated by these tuning orbs that are a high level thing that you have to for to get, and then making money in New World easy feat either. So it's just it's a tough situation, man. So anyway, sorry, I think I'm having some internet issues today too. I apologize. I think I'm skipping around a little bit, so sorry for that, boys. But I mean, I that's where I stand, man. Just give us more variety to increase watermark, and I think ultimately right now the end game would be not horrible. But I would definitely like to see them add on more to it later. But for a launch product, I think there's a lot to do. They just need to give us more variety to increase the water.
Yeah, LLnK. So this is something that I think, as a MMO veteran, I'm looking forward to, or I would assume that they're going to attempt. Is raiding, how that would tie into obviously the tuning orb system, or potentially the watermark or in-game grind. What is your take on the need for a competitive PvE in-game experience?
I think they need both a competitive PvE and PvP in-game experience. A lot of the MMOs I've played have kind of both, and that gives you 2 different goals to go for. You got your PvE in-game, maybe even the world first hype, about doing certain things like that. That'd be cool to see. That would bring people with a competitive nature in PvE together to try and beat the dungeon, be the first essentially, and kind of get an achievement unlock for that, like a lot of games do. Raids are great. I like the idea. I think they've talked about it, basically making it so you can actually change the difficulty of the dungeons to make them, level 1 all the way up to level 10. But I don't know that anybody's going to bother really trying to do those really high-end ones when their key costs so much. Like, are you going to go attempt that level 10 version of that dungeon if that's a thing that they're actually going to do? If you can't beat it, you just lose that key that took you so long to make, like, where's it's better be some really good rewards for possibly losing a key on a high-end raid if they require tuning keys or whatever. But I think that they need to add more things that is in a kind of a competitive nature. In the game right now, on the PvP front, for instance, the same thing for in-game. A lot of times you just flag up and go farm resources, and you'll see somebody else flagged, and you'll just wave at them as they go by. And, you both have the understanding of, all right, you're achieving good stuff, I'm achieving good stuff, and there's really not much of an incentive for me to kill you anyways. Like, there is no realm point system. There's no In other games, I played Dark Age a lot, Dark Age of Camelot and whatnot. And in that game, the higher in realm rank you got to, the more cool abilities you got, like a purge ability, for instance. And it was on a long timer that you could only use for so long, but they can incorporate that into raids too. Like Dark Age had master levels, like more abilities, more skills. Because for me, the number of abilities and the number of varieties and builds in the end game are a bit lacking, in my opinion. I would like to see more skills, more things on long timers, maybe like a half an hour. So you're going to use that purge button. Like you get gravity welding, you need to get out of it. You use your purge button and boom, you're out of it. But you can only do that every half an hour. It's going to be very, very important. And they can tie that into the in-game raids and add more and more and more. And I would love to see some raids. I like the competitive aspect of it. I love the world first aspect of it. That brings in some notoriety for the game besides just these dungeons. Like right now we just talk about keys. Like is it worth the key? Is the game worth the candles? Old expression I like. And you don't know if it's worth it. Do I pay the 1,000 gold to get into this group that's going to go do Lazarus, etc.? And I don't know, because we might not be able to complete it with the group that I'm going in with, and that's just brutal for the end game. And the guaranteed watermark is not there yet. So I would love to see more of the rating, and that just ties into what you were saying before. Just more ways to get watermark and more ways to achieve really good loot.
Yes, one of the things I think that the game had a little bit of a period because the grind or the level 260, the leveling process 260 was pretty lengthy, I think, for a casual player. It could take some time to get to max level. A lot of the player base wasn't experiencing the end game at the same time, so that there was kind of a little bit of a rough patch where there were only so many people in the end game. They did have Outpost Rush turned off for a little bit, so that was also kind of threw that in a wrench into things. But I think the one thing that they have at the current end game that I would like to see changes in the future is the changes, of course, to the tuning orb system. And I do, there's been a ton of leaks, not for raids, but for the dungeon mutations. The ability to maybe titrate all of these dungeons to max level and maybe get some of those unique items that are in those current expeditions, at your max level watermark. I wonder if that'll add enough variety, especially to your point where these tuning orbs are already pretty challenging to get. You have to farm if you're going to craft it by yourself. You're gonna have to farm corrupted portals for a long time to even do one cooldown of that tuning orb, and then, like you said, then you have to weigh, should I pub this out and try to make some money, and then maybe we don't even complete it? Was that worth my time, or am I going to get an improvement to my watermark during this run? So is it worth the however many hours? I've never tried to grind a tuning orb from scratch before. I've always had some of the material. So
well, it takes a while. Sometimes like a guild run thing. You can buy some of the material from the auction house, but some of the materials not necessarily for tuning orbs, but like making armors and things like that you might actually want to use in those dungeons because they're stronger versus those types of monsters or whatever. Some of those things you can't even search for on the auction house, like sticky vines and beeswax, and it just becomes difficult to get all the materials that you need for doing these bosses. And if they're going to increase the difficulty, which they just did, when we were already having a difficult time with it, people are actually like worried about using their keys. They don't want to go in with a group that they don't know can beat it because it costs them so much money, or it costs them so much money to go in with these groups. And especially if your auction house is turned off or whatever, you're not getting that money either.
Yeah, very, very true. Makes a challenging situation to put some players in, because I do think generally, I think a lot of people in our position, I want to play the game. I really enjoy the game. I think the game is in a great place. As far as launch MMOs go, if they could just, maybe potentially get out of their own way with the bugs and having the patches with, kind of create problems rather than solve them. I think New World has a great base if they continue to add content at the pace that they did during the alpha phase. I think we're in for a really good healthy MMO. But I think that one of the problems is right now that we've kind of talked about ad nauseum is just the ongoing issues with patching and stuff.
Yeah. It's nice to have an in-game. I don't know how many games I've played of late where the in-game doesn't exist. I try to tell people all the time. It's like, for compared to a lot of the games I've played, it's not that bad. It's annoying and it's a problem. And yes, I understand your frustration, but it's really a lot of the games I've played far, far, far worse. And I had tons of fun in those games too. Thousands of hours played. There's many people who are like, this game, it doesn't matter what game it is. This game sucks. I'm tired of, I can't play it anymore. And it's like, well, how many hours do you have in the game? 2,000 hours.
Yeah.
Well, so you've got your money's worth.
Yeah. It's challenge. Finding reason on the internet is not always easy. But yeah, I agree with you. As far as my history of launch MMOs go, I think New World, I still kind of, am in the camp where New World has had a very successful launch and is a very good product, especially for, you think a lot of the times you go into an MMO and you expect to pay AAA prices, which is like $60 for a box, and then you pay the $15 sub. And New World only was $40 at launch, and there's no commitment past that. So I don't know, man. I still... obviously, plan to play New World for a long time to come. It's just, I think, good to talk about these issues in a reasonable manner.
Being productive is the most important thing. Like, if you have an issue with something, talk about it, but also list an idea as a way to change it and fix it and make it better. Because as humans, we will always be much more boisterous about our complaints than our praise. That's just... The game could be running 100% perfect, and I guarantee you people would complain about something. Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast.
You better believe it. You know all too well, I'm sure, having been live for the past, 3 or 4 years, or excuse me, 7 or 8 years on Twitch.
Yeah.
So, Bordy, anything you have as closing statements?
No, my back is my internet. Are we good now? Am I having latency issues still?
Yeah.
Well, right now.
Okay. I don't know what was going on. I apologize. Yeah, no, man. I mean, I don't really have anything to add. I think you guys hit the nail on the head with everything you're saying, and I think is that you're probably echoing the sentiment of most of the player base too. Whenever you're talking about all of these things and all the in-game things that are happening with the game, we all believe that New World has great promise in the future. It's still a really fun game now, and they just need to sort out some things moving forward. And at the end of the day, how long has the game been out? 2 months. It released in, so it's still very, very early in MMO standards, man. I mean, 2 months for an MMO is nothing. So I would expect that over the coming months, over the next, 6 months or whatever, I think the game is going to just get better and better and better. They'll start to sort out some of these issues that they're having, maybe introduce some new in-game stuff and adjust the watermark and all. I think everything will be good. We just have to be a little bit patient as players, which can be hard at times. Whenever it just seems like there's issue after issue after issue. But I think at the end of the day, I'll still be here. I don't know about you guys. I'll still be here. I think it's going to be a good game.
As long as I'm still having fun, which I am, I'll be here as well.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with you guys on that for sure. All right, so now that we kind of wrapped that up, let's go ahead and move Bordy to the companies of the week. Take it away, man. Anytime you're ready, the drop is over. You can.
I was waiting for your cue, man. I can't see your drop, bro.
Listen, man, they're about 2 seconds on average, okay? So just count the 2 and then start.
Well, if I do that, then I talk over the drop, so it never works out. All right. True. So we have ARCIS, man. So ARCIS is, dude, ARCIS is a guild that was on our server for a little while. We know ARCIS, they're good people, so go check them out. They are on NA East. It looks like they have a $100 challenge going on right now, unless he hasn't updated this in a little while. But I'm not sure what the $100 challenge is for, but maybe we'll get to that here in just a second. So it says that ARCIS is a age 16 plus. It says they're an 1,800 plus player community that's looking for active and willing members that love to play all types of games. They welcome all gamers from all walks of life with open arms and looking for members that are willing to assist, talk, and play with others, and to generally have a good time. And it looks like they have this giveaway level challenge, and I hope this is still active. If it's not, I apologize. But it says $100 Steam gift. They're going to be given to the first person to reach max level, which I don't think this is probably active anymore. I bet they haven't updated this in a bit because that's the first person to reach max level. But it does look like they do some pretty cool giveaways, so maybe they're still doing some, or maybe they'll have some ongoing as their company kind of evolves, but go check them out. ARCIS. We have all of their information linked below, so you have a ton of information to go look through there, and then their Discord link will be there as well. So then go ask Toofs if he has any more giveaways going on. You might get lucky. All right, then we have NerdSauce. They are NA East. They're on, what is this server? Pyralis? Pyrallis? I don't know how you say that, man.
You're asking the wrong
Pyralis?
person. Maybe LLnK is probably more educated.
They are, so NerdSauce, they're Marauders. That's a dope name, by the way. I like it. So it says, what is NerdSauce? Right now, they're a small, tight-knit group of laid-back degenerates. Dude, there you go. But we're looking to grow our community into something more. As its core, NerdSauce has always been about strong social bonds. Many of those in the group have been a part of each other's daily lives, in and out of gaming for the better part of a decade. They're a drama-free zone. And they expect members to be mature enough to sort things out in private and not let it bleed into the larger community. And then in that same vein, they don't tolerate a lot of things that most companies wouldn't tolerate, and they expect members to be respectful of other members' preferred play styles and interest in game to try to educate and uplift new or inexperienced members. So it sounds like they're much more a community social feel within the game. So if you guys want to have that type of environment, that type of close-knit community and social feel, if that's what you're looking to get out of New World, then go check out NerdSauce. We'll have them linked in the description below as well.
And we appreciate you guys for creating your posts over at New World Fans. And special thank you to our Patreon who continues to support us through all of the good and the bad times. Thank you guys so much. LLnK, dude, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Real quick, again, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, we're at twitch.tv/StreamerHouse. It's StreamerHouse across all the platforms. Just the two words combined: Twitch, Instagram, etc. Just type in those words, combine them together, and that's us. We've been going for so long, and we're just constant. We're also looking for possible new streamers. You never know. You can apply to become a StreamerHouse member and stream for the house. We're in Lakeland, Florida. It might be a cool opportunity to grow your channel as well if you are interested. But stop by our Twitch channel. We're always live 24/7. It's there's 3 of us currently streaming. I'm LLnK. It's nice to meet you. And if you want to go check out my channel, it's just 2 L's, 1 N, 1 K on Twitch as well. And we appreciate you guys having us on the radio show and stuff. It's fun talking about this, and I get new perspective from you guys. I mean, mostly it's been echoed the sentiment that we have going on with the game right now. All the different small things and the big things. We could talk about the game for days and days and days, and it's just been fun being on the show. Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you joining us. Special thank you to everyone out there as well who listen to the podcast on a weekly basis. We appreciate it, guys. And that about does it for this episode. Again, thank you to StreamerHouse for joining us, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.